Welcome to Cut Daisies and Unicorns, and we are on a full episode. And here's the thing, as we always do in the beginning of our full episodes, we always like to tell you how things are here and how things are going in the weather-wise in Chicago. And the last 2 days, it's been overcast. So, as I know, I don't like overcast. But I know Steve, he's getting into the full wear of the fall season, and he's got his beanie on, and
it's charcoal this week.
Oh yes, it is charcoal.
I didn't want to take time to get the lint roller out for my black one. My black one's starting to get worn in. Yeah. But so I'm like, well, I'm wearing my Cut Daisies pink Target tee. Just washed this thing up. I thought I'm going to try it. It feels nice and soft. If you're able to watch the video, you'll see me caressing the t-shirt.
Caressing and rubbing.
Yep. And and I thought, well, I need to pick out a hat that's going to match my wardrobe. And so instead of which I don't stand up on this show, so I could have worn a brown one, but that doesn't really complement the pink. And I have an orange one. We've talked about this.
We have.
The navy blue was available, but when I went to put it on, the stitching from the Dickies label was coming through the back side. Huh. And so I didn't want to take time to deal with a straggling, bright thread that was gonna, be on my noggin.
That's true.
So, but I had a detour because I had to take Gypsy home.
Right. Yeah. So for the 10th episode of season 3, we're shooting in the afternoon.
We are.
Yeah. Which is different.
It is different. And it might, I'm not sure. Usually this is about the time that my energy goes low, but I jacked a Butterfinger, little Butterfinger.
The minis?
The little mini, and a couple of the Reese's cups, the thins.
The thin.
Yeah. So I'm like, I've already had 2 cups of coffee, but hey, when your appointment with life starts between 5 and 5:15 in the morning, by 2 p.m. I just can have some energy lull.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty natural.
Well, it's unnatural. So much of everything that I just said right there is such an unnatural approach to life. It makes me want to hate myself. If I could hate myself more about that, I probably would, but I already do. So I don't think I will. And if you understood what I just said, then you'll know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm for it. This is a really good practice. It's a good part of humanity to be alive. When you think about it, every night when we go to sleep, we die, and then we wake up. Now,
every day is a resurrection.
Yeah, people are like, you don't really die because you're alive and you're sleeping. Yeah, but how do you know you're going to wake up?
Well, I mean, and there's that whole thing, like you also don't know if you've got sleep apnea, so you actually could stop breathing at some point in time during the night.
I've tested for sleep apnea. Uh-huh. They said I didn't have it at the time.
There you go.
Well, I may have developed sleep apnea.
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I know we got a lot of people out there listening.
Yeah.
Who have sleep apnea.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's a common dilemma.
It is. It is, yeah. And then they have those CPAP machines and all kinds of new contraptions.
There's all kinds of contraptions.
Yeah.
People who have sleep apnea, who've gotten the contraptions, have said that their quality of life improves.
There you go.
I
guess it's a quality of sleep, too?
Well, I would guess it starts with when you die, and then when you resurrect, and for your daily journey.
Right.
for
Time to rise.
for your journey. Last night, as I was heading off into La La Land, otherwise known as my temporary death, my head, my mind, my thoughts were just jumbled and crazy.
Yeah.
And I stopped and I said, no, you're not going to do this. So you just calm down. And what do I have to put as imagery upstairs right now for you? Because I don't want none of this crazy dream shit.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I started walking.
You said you'd been working on that anyways. So.
Well, I mean, that's something like in the middle of the night. But there is a preemptive step that you can take. And I took it last night.
Good.
Yeah. And it worked out just
right.
fine. I wasn't tormented by any of the dreams. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good. So sleep was good. Resurrection was good.
Resurrection was fine. My alarm was set for 5. Amy's alarm apparently is always set for 5 minutes to 5. So my alarm really is the equivalent of a halfway through sleep, a snooze cycle. So instead of getting 10-minute snooze, her alarm goes off at 4:55, mine goes off at 5, then her snooze goes off at 5:05, and then I have my alarm that went off at 5 goes off at 5:10, and then I set my second alarm for 5:15, and then our alarms play leapfrog.
Right.
You know.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. So, but it's a good irritation because by the time 10 after 5 happens, I'm so irritated at hearing alarms go off. I'm like, I'm just gonna get up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually about an hour after that. So.
Yeah.
I'm. Heather's getting up. I think just like right before 6.
Yeah.
So that she's jumps in the shower. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Good thing is I don't have to do much to be able to prepare in the mornings because I go to the gym. So I'm not taking a shower before I go work out.
Which makes complete sense.
Right.
Like people who get clean to go sweat.
Right.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Yeah. And
I'm not trying to look good going to the gym either.
Well, no, you don't want to be one of those gym dudes.
Right.
I actually walked 2.5 miles last night.
Wow. Why?
Because Amy asked me to.
Oh. There is the reason.
We had dinner, and I walked over to grab a blanket to sit on the couch and to turn on the TV. And she's like, hey, it'd be a good idea to go take a walk, wouldn't it? And I'm like, yeah.
Truth?
Sure. Okay. And but there was a really nice breeze. It was humid outside because it had been raining and stuff, but really nice breeze. And then she's like, it'd be a great night to take a walk. And then the dog perks up, ears full attention. All right, we're going for a walk. This is cool. I'm like, well, I was invited. You weren't.
Gypsy.
It's too early, Gypsy. And
there's going to be other dogs out.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was like 7:30. The corgis, they usually walk about 8:15. We try not to take Jip out before 9 o'clock. Oh, man. Yeah, so we walked 1.5 miles and then came back and swung through, picked up Gypsy, took her for a mile. She did her big job for those of you who are cat owners.
Right.
That's what the litter box is for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so anyway. So then I'm like, wow, man, I haven't walked. Amy doesn't like to walk in the heat, in the humidity. And so now that it's turning into fall,
right.
Now we will begin our next 6-month journey of walking.
Yeah, so I think isn't today technically the first day of fall? There's a 21, 22, some 21, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Today's 21.
I think today is 21, so it should be the official
start of fall.
Start of fall.
Wow.
Just going to verify real quick because, oh no, they put it on the 22nd.
Wow. 9/22.
Yeah, so they say, while September equinox usually occurs on September 22 or 23, it can very rarely fall on September 21 or the 24th. But usually, apparently, it's 22 or 23. So tomorrow, Wednesday, the 22nd. Just so you
when
know,
you're
as we're
talking
time
about
traveling.
If you talk about equinox, then I mean, like, because the moon was really big, but does that mean the moon's not full?
Apparently, it's not full then.
Because an equinox is the fullness of the moon.
I think so. That is a good question.
Well, I mean, it's a great Neil Young tribute to the Harvest Moon.
Yeah.
One of his best albums.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if they had any other explanation for it, but equinoxes are not day-long events, even though many choose to celebrate all day. Instead, they occur at the moment that the sun crosses the celestial equator, the imagery line in the sky above Earth's equator. At this instant, Earth's rotational axis is neither tilted away nor towards the sun.
Huh. Wow.
Well, that's fascinating, I guess. That's some information just in case you didn't know what that all meant. So, yeah. But it is funny why it would vary in date, though.
Well, you got those years where there's leaps and there's frogs.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the weather in Chicagoland,
That is
everybody.
the weather.
If you want gloomy and doomy, think about waking up to live life.
When we got some rain, over the last couple of days as well.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good thing too. Rain is good.
Yep.
At least it hasn't been pouring all day long or anything. So
nope.
That's a good point of view too.
Gotta feed the earth. Gotta give the earth a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Caitlin about the smoky eye look for you. For the live show.
Yeah.
When we do that, she said, "I'm down."
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to my mom, and she was saying how much she enjoyed the last episode, and I said, yeah, I think I was going to sleep on Sunday night, and it all of a sudden dawned on me that I think that I volunteered to have eye makeup and wear my what is that scarf thing again?
Yeah, the ascot.
The ascot, my handkerchief ascot.
Mm-hmm.
And then was watching a movie and saw a guy wearing an ascot, and I thought, yeah, I see. And ascot might be the new what are the hats?
Fedora.
Yeah, the new fedora. The new fedora is your ascot.
Yeah. Could be. I mean, if not, you can always at least start the trend.
Well, I've been wearing scarves,
right?
Like during the winter. For years.
Yeah.
And so, coming up with the ascot look. And actually, I reached to get my pink ascot, my handkerchief.
Yeah.
But I had on my pink shirt, and I just was not. My pink ascot handkerchief is the only one that I've washed enough that it's actually getting soft. For those of you who have purchased farmers' handkerchiefs at the Farm and Fleet stores, you understand what I'm saying. When cotton that comes from those stores is not pre-washed, and so it doesn't have the softness,
right? And then you probably have to be careful when you first wash that then too, right? Making sure
I don't think so much. No. They're oversized handkerchiefs. They're big enough to get big boogers. Or to clear out any corn chaff that has gotten up your nose during the harvest.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, this cooking show, I might have to pull out my flamboyant personality. You know, not the
Julia Childs.
Everybody's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I can come up with a character for the cooking show.
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay.
Oh,
that would not be flamboyant, but
F off.
right.
I've seen enough like Hell's Kitchen and different stuff like that I don't.
Right.
I mean, I really just don't do accents the best, but
His signature dish. Do you know what it is?
no.
Beef Wellington.
Oh, that's where you take beef
Yeah.
and you wrap it in a pastry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a poor way. There's no cowboy on earth that ever wanted Wellington with their beef.
Yeah, I've never tried to cook one before, so
Yeah.
because I never usually. I mean, I think I've had beef Wellington. If I look back in my history of food,
Yeah.
I've had it. I've just never cooked it.
Yeah.
Because I always feel. I mean, because I like my steak medium rare.
Yeah.
Closer to the rare side. So
Wow.
I mean, but most of the time, if you're noticing when they cook steak on cooking shows like Chef, like level grade, I mean, like you're shooting for medium rare.
Yeah.
I mean, that as they say, the chefs is the perfect, cook for a steak.
Yeah.
So it's medium rare. So I'm like, I kind of like it medium rare. Like if it gets closer towards medium or definitely medium, medium well, like too much. It's done. Like it, you just done cooked off all the stuff that I wanted to eat.
Well, let me see if I can still respect you. All right. So when you're eating said steak that is cooked at medium rare,
Yeah.
do you put any sauce on it?
No.
See, this is why we're friends, everybody.
No sauce.
This is why we're friends now. And that would be my point, is that if I am brought to a place, order a steak, and it's not done to my liking, if it's too well, if it's into the medium to medium well range, I'll always go with A1.
A1, the steak sauce.
Yeah. Not really a Heinz 57 guy.
Right.
But that's why I do it. I do it to make the steak juicy again.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the A1 has more tangy, that
It's got
bite to it. So, yeah, so I could see using that, but it would be a rare case, which is the reason why I don't have any in the house. I don't buy it on a regular basis because I don't plan on using it often.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and to hit a good medium, you got to pull the steak off at the rare because it keeps cooking afterwards. That's
does.
what you have to know your cook times. You got to know your temps.
Right. And Heather's always like, that's not done enough. That's not done. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is done perfect.
I used to like my steaks rare.
Yeah.
And then I was on, during college, I was on a traveling team for the school, and I made some comment that I liked my steaks rare. And they're like, well, how rare do you like it? I'm like, well, 3 minutes on each side will be fine. And the leader of the team wanted to play a prank, so they dropped the steak, flipped the steak, and then brought it into me. And it was cold center all the way through, and and I, ever since that point, then I'm like medium rare.
Right. So which cut's your favorite?
Yeah. So if I'm doing steak on a grill and I'm cooking, my favorite cut is a ribeye.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm at a steakhouse and a professional is doing it, I like the bone-in tomahawk ribeye.
Oh. Wow.
Hey, go big or go home.
I was gonna say, those tomahawk ones though, man, they, you try to go to a butcher to get a tomahawk one. I mean, they're like $30 a pound.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I
ounce. I don't even know it.
no,
It's crazy.
Yeah, pound.
Right.
And then when I was serving at Fire Creek Grill in West Des Moines, they would have prime rib on the menu, and actually, I don't know. I don't even know how it happened. I think one time I was serving at lunch and I saw that they were doing prime rib steak sandwiches, which was an open faced on a French bread that was toasted or whatever, with au jus on the side. And they were taking small cuts of the prime and throwing it on the grill. And I'm like, hey, can I get a, 16-ounce prime? But can you do it on the grill like you do the steak sandwiches? I said, don't put it in the, because when they cook the prime rib and then they warm it by putting it in au jus to bring it to temp to whichever cook base that you want your prime rib at. And the cooks back there were like, oh, yeah, we can do that. So I like a prime rib thrown on the grill, too. I mean, but... standing prime. I think last Christmas I may have cooked standing prime for our meal.
Wow.
Just as a holiday special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's usually done around Christmas, New Year's time, right? Yeah. Prime rib.
Now, I'm horrible because, prime rib was the only steak that I knew that you could eat horseradish with.
Right.
Yeah. I've torn down the walls on that. If I'm eating steak, I'm asking for a horseradish.
Huh.
I just love it.
I do love it too. I just always figure, the reason why I also don't use an A1 is like the steak should taste good.
Yeah, but
by itself.
I like horseradish.
Right.
I mean, so I'm looking for an excuse to be able to eat horseradish. Yeah. I might start eating horseradish on a burger.
Yeah.
Whew.
I think I might have had a burger with horseradish on it. So, yeah, I mean, I like because the horseradish has the nasal burn versus almost like a wasabi.
I was going to say that's why
that family.
Man, and you know what? Now you're talking Japanese steakhouse. Let's throw down some wasabi, pickled ginger, and a good steak. Oh, yeah.
I do like the pickled ginger.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's
Thinly
like my fave. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we keep that in the pantry at the house.
Pickled ginger?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, I got tubes of wasabi, too.
Oh, see, I don't ever keep wasabi either.
Oh, man. And the stuff that you buy in the supermarket is so much hotter than what they serve in the restaurants. Like, I mean, I got actual wasabi from Japan, Japanese writing.
Ooh.
I mean, it's hot.
Quite the nasal burn.
Oh, yeah.
Clears out the sinuses.
Got to clear the sinus holes. Yeah. And it's 2:17, folks, our time, our day. And just want to let you know, obviously, as we talk about a cooking show, Phil and I get distracted. So, oh my gosh. Yeah. So
it can be very distracting.
Like, share, and subscribe, and go ahead and leave your favorite cut of meat. And now, for the record, though, too, when's the last time you had a steak?
Ooh, that would have been probably... Is it a month?
Yeah.
Month and a half, maybe, somewhere in there?
Yeah, because we're not really red meat eaters as much. Yeah. I mean, I
think that one was a ribeye, which is my favorite.
That's your favorite cut too?
Yeah. I mean, porterhouse is a good cut too, which, has a blend of, lots of different cuts, but... Yeah. Ribeyes are I like the marbled fat. So,
yeah, me too. Yeah. I like to consider myself a ribeye.
Marbled fat.
And medium rare. Otherwise known as half baked.
And then I like to be a little bit spicy too. So that's why we add the horseradish.
Oh yeah. I'm horseradish to your swass. All right. But, hey, so I got to tell you about, if you like ribeye, then, the horn on a prime rib or the ribeye, cut then on the steak is that really super tender fatty part that goes around the main part of the steak.
Yeah.
So Costco cuts the horns and ties them all together in a little round steak like a fillet.
Mm-hmm.
That steak is awesome.
Is it in the blue package? Is it the prime?
I don't know if it's in the blue package.
So that's how you can kind of tell with Costco cuts.
Okay.
So they have like the white package, which are still good cuts of steak.
Right.
But then you get the blue packaged ones, and it's like
those are USDA.
Right. It's a little bit better, whether it's on the cut or whatever.
The cure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Steaks.
Right. But of course, then the price goes up too. So it just happens.
Yeah.
I mean, what you'd expect, all right? If you're saying this one's good and this one's even better, then you get to decide.
Now, something that I really, and sorry to the listeners for this, but just go with me for a minute here. I get the part where like steak is steak.
Yeah.
If you ask me what my favorite steak cut of a chicken is, I don't know that there's ever a steak cut of the chicken.
I don't either.
But then if you go to chicken fried steak, what part of a chicken fried steak is really chicken?
Yeah.
It's not.
Is it any chicken?
So I think it's that steak that, basically they've run through the grinder.
Yeah.
That is tenderized. And then they take it through a buttermilk bath and like a chicken fried steak. If you do that, a chicken fried steak and gravy, this is like a southern, thing, but there's no chicken in the chicken fried steak. I think it's chicken fried steak. Like you would fry chicken, then this is what you're doing to the steak. There's no chicken. And no chicken has a steak. Not really sure why they don't have a steak, because we eat their drummies.
We do.
That would be any of the leg cuts.
Right.
I would talk about boneless breast chicken, but then when I think about the breasts of a cow, that is utterly impossible.
Yeah, because it is weird about the chicken then, because then you move to pork. I mean, you go to the pig, right? And you get all kinds of different cuts there too. You got the bacon, which is near the hind quarters.
Yeah.
You get like the shoulder, pork shoulder. There's all kinds of different versions of.
You got the loin.
Yeah, the loin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which has nothing to do with the loin cloth.
Right.
And the loin in both pork and beef is a back muscle.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the loins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the ribs. So you got the beef ribs, obviously, from the cow, and you get the pork ribs coming from a pig. And so both of them, which then, of course, from the ribs, like the rib tips are always a fun one to, consume.
Yeah. and the short ribs.
And the short ribs.
Versus the tall ribs?
That's true.
Or the long ribs?
Uh-huh.
I mean, these are questions about food that I just wonder about.
Yeah, maybe.
But
we
if
can
you've
have
got
a butcher on or something to.
If you have chicken ribs, whoever said, "Hey, who wants chicken ribs tonight?" Nobody. Who wants turkey ribs? Right. Nobody.
Why?
Who wants fish ribs? Nobody, because nobody likes to eat fish with bones in it.
No.
But that's what the ribs are.
It's true.
Yeah, but we don't. They're just so small that they. A child could choke on it. So, keep your children away from fish. But not chickens or turkeys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are good questions. Things to ponder. Why don't we have cuts of turkey, cuts of chicken.
Well, I mean, you got wings, legs, breast. You got neck.
Mm-hmm.
You got the gizzards.
Hmm.
You know?
Do you know anybody who eats the gizzards?
Yeah, my dad used to.
Oh.
When he was alive. He'd eat gizzard, heart,
Oof.
liver.
So just
Yeah, now there's a delicacy right
whole
there.
Beast.
Chicken livers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing.
I know liver is a thing, so
Yeah.
I don't like liver.
Well, I got one, and I'm pretty sure mine wonders if I like it either.
Done some damage
Oh my gosh.
to that.
Oh yeah. All right.
So, I think we were going to talk about lifelong learners.
Oh.
I think that was the topic for today.
All right. Well, we need to start our list then.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to be a lifelong learner?
Isn't that it? Wasn't that
No,
the topic?
that's great, man. We can do that.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, because we've talked about, kind of pieces and parts of what it means to have a posture of learning. Because we've talked about how we've gone through and we'll use the word evolution of thought, of different things, not necessarily on our own, but because we have learned from people or learned from circumstances. And based on that, then you change, you transform, you evolve. And I think then it's saying, so how do we get back, or how do we get to a place to be open? Because there is that whole thing that they say, the older you get, the more you get stuck. You get stuck in your own thinking, you get stuck in your own ways, like that whole idiom, can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Woof.
And you're like, but why? Why do we get stuck instead of saying, I'm going to just be open to learning?
Well, I think part of humanity is always running away from it. If you will, like, if I could go back and tell my younger self, like 2 or 3 year old, like, hey, Steve-O, really what you need to do is crack it and like get really open to learning as much as you can right now, because your brain is forming and it's taking in a lot of stuff. But what do kids do? Apparently kids and girls just want to have fun.
That's, yeah.
And so
Shout
it's
out
like
Cyndi Lauper.
Yep. And so like when you're looking at that, let them play, and hey, don't try to grow up too fast, because then you're going to wish that when you become an adult, then you wish that you could, be a child, and then every child who complains about taking a nap. I don't want to take a nap. Well, you're going to get to the age where you're going to wish you could take a nap, and then you don't get to take a nap. We've heard all of these conversations,
Right.
But I think that there's a part of the law of diminishing return, and that is when you get to a certain place, no, you're no longer growing, and then it's the breakdown of the debilitation to the point of wearing out and being done.
Right.
So I think teaching old dogs new tricks is just really, the dog is just matured to a level that why learn a new trick? I got all these tricks in my back pocket anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these have worked so far. Are you telling me I'm not working right? Then we get defensive.
Well, the dogs do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't.
Right.
Oh, no. Nobody gets defensive around here.
No.
That was sarcasm.
Sarcasm, everybody. If
Yeah,
you haven't heard it before, now you've heard it.
Yep. Sarcasm. But, so you pose the question about that, and just be like, what is it? Is it that we get set in our own our ways? I would have a tendency to think that adults right now during this time, it's one of two things. there's an evolution occurred that because things are changing so quickly, that the set in your ways is not as easy to get entrenched into, because so much is changing, whether it's through information, technology. You think about it. Back in the day, I remember when we were like going to online information and stuff like that at Gloria Day, and it was argued that a lot of the older people wouldn't have the technology available to be. Now it's done deal. I mean, everybody's got a computer, they've got a laptop, they've got a
smart TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's probably what forced a lot of people in an older generation to say, "Oh, I have to learn this technology." It always cracked me up. Karen Kennedy would be like, "Steve, what am I supposed to tell these people?" I said, "Ask them who their trusted person in their family is for technology." She goes, "Well, they're calling me for help." And I'm like, "You don't need to help them. Ask them who helped set up their TV and have that person come back. We can't go to everybody's house and, get all of the, and then for every different, model or whatever, how come my TV doesn't have this app? And I don't know why did you buy that TV instead of, this other TV? I don't have the answers to those questions, and stuff, but
Right.
But I do think that families have figured out that if someone struggles with technology, the person who understands technology a little bit more steps in and says, "Oh, I can help you out with that."
Right.
But it's always changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I remember like when my, when my mother-in-law comes into town, she, I think that technology, it like seeks her out, and then somehow there's something that happens in her that emits radio waves that sends technology, going in multiple different directions. I mean, it's a mess.
Wow.
So usually when she comes in like, "Hey, can you check on this? Like, here's my phone. I don't know what's going." I'm like, "Okay." So I go through the same process of like what Apple would do if you call up Apple and say, "My phone's not working." All right. Have you done a hard shutdown,
Right.
or a hard reset? So I go through like the checklist with her, like she's trying to learn something new. I'm like taking her through that same process. All right, so if this is what we've got, how can we get this? And so, I'm trying my best to be like even a good teacher in that, because most of the time this stuff, it's like, just natural. Like it's just instinct. This is what you do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to move too fast because I know that she's not, where I'm at with technology either.
Right.
So it's like, how do you do that? I mean, and she does a good job of like, trying to learn that.
Yeah.
There's some people who are like, yeah, just somebody do this for me. Like, I don't care about it. Like, but she tries to ask questions and learn.
Yeah.
So that she can figure it out too.
And for people who don't want to be surrounded by the technology, you got a couple options. You can always turn your phone off. You don't have to turn your computer on.
True.
They're actually offering phones now for people that the only thing that they do is text and call. Mm. And you don't have to have, the internet all connected to it and stuff like that. So, there's options out there. But that's where, you ask the question, hey, what is it, what brings us to a place where we stall out or we find ourselves in a situation where we're not lifelong learners or in that, and I'm not really sure, man.
I mean, you would consider yourself a lifelong learner? I mean, would you say that that's a goal, or do you maybe a season of learner, not necessarily lifelong? I mean, what do you think? Where would you put yourself in that?
Well, I mean, I carry myself equidistanced in that I learn as much as I need to be able to enjoy the life I'm living. But I mean, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, in that, I finished in the 50th percentile of my graduating high school class, and I did the same in college. Like, I mean, if you're going to do life, you got to be living life.
Uh-huh.
And so if all you're going to do is learn, then are you going to be a professional student? And so I would not ascribe me as a person who is a professional student. And I'm not subjugated to, like, I'm not taking classes somewhere, and things like that. Mm-hmm. But people ask me a lot of questions that I don't have the answers to. It's really interesting what happens. If you go to Google and type the question in, information's available.
Go figure.
People are like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, you asked me the question. Well, yeah, but how'd you get the answer? I'm like, I typed it in Google and read for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
most of the time it's not even really a deep dive.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, because you can go deep on Google. I mean, you get sometimes 1,000, 10,000 pages that you could search through on a Google search.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know the last time I've been past page 2.
Yeah.
You could call me a skimmer.
Yeah, sometimes I even like to advance, all right, what is the 10th page look like?
Yeah. See, that's your inquiring mind. Right. You just want to know.
Yeah, so I'll even skip through some of the early ones and say, what's in the back? I don't even know, if you type in lifelong learners into Google, it says there's 30,800,000 results. And of course, Google found it in 0.82 seconds.
Wow.
So, that, I mean, to me, even looking at that technology is crazy. I mean, they're scouring the internet for me. They're saying, I'm going to look at everything and see where I can find for you. I mean, and yes, to do it in 0.82 seconds.
I like to think of it as that bathroom spray cleaner with the little bubbles that go around the bathtub.
Oh, yeah.
They're scurrying. They're scrubbing the internets.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I mean, I know that there's some people out there that don't like Google, and so they use a different browser. Firefox is kind of a friendly, version for, privacy.
Well, and there's another one being advertised on the radio too. I haven't heard it enough, but it's like, hey, we believe in your privacy. It's like, and they go through some crazy ad thing with it about that and stuff, and I'm like, well, then that's an option too.
It is. I mean, because you're saying, Google, is a business. So,
Mm-hmm.
They've got multiple different platforms across the board, right? So they have a vested interest in you becoming interested in Google. So you get the Google Drive where you can store files. You've got, their Meet platform now, which is their video platform. Chat functions, of course, Maps and YouTube, YouTube's probably their biggest one, I think. Behind their search engine, isn't it Google search? And then the second largest search engine is YouTube. So people use that even to search. So it's now owned by the same company. It didn't originate there, but that's what happened. Yeah, so Google, you get... they've got phones now too, just like, Apple ventured out there. So yeah. But so when I'm looking at lifelong learners,
yeah,
and when I'm trying to be able to, consider what does it mean to be a lifelong learner? What is the advantages of me being a lifelong learner? Because I think that there's a difference in being a lifelong learner versus a lifelong student. Because student sounds a little bit more both academic, and I'm also going to keep track of this, like on a scale of pass fail.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're looking for that kind of thing for your life, you want to be a lifelong student, always doing something. Like, yeah, but I see it differently versus a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And I think we brought up in one of the shows, one of our past episodes, is that we talked about how we can learn and be open to learning through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So things can be a teacher if we're allowing ourselves to learn from it.
Yeah.
And so I guess that, for me, if I ask that question of myself, like I'd like to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Because I do like to learn things. I mean, I'm always, kind of digging in, and like if I don't know something, I'd like to learn it. I mean, and it goes back to what we talked about with conspiracy theories and that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do people, go down that path? Well, they're like, I want to know something that nobody else knows, or maybe a small amount of people know.
Wow. And as you bring that up, I got a couple of updates for our listening audience.
Yeah.
And that is in Transformers, the first movie.
Yeah.
All of the things that we've initially talked about concerning our fringe is actually in that whole storyline and is brought out, which I believe that Transformers, what they did is they were just laying the groundwork. They're like, we all know this is true. So here, we're putting this out there.
Yeah.
I finished this morning, I watched the Davinci Code.
Oh.
And understand why a lot of people who maybe have evangelical backgrounds would be offended by said movie. But found it very interesting, and so I actually have the sequel. I'm going to see if I'll probably watch it once and decide if I'm going to throw the movie away or not. And so,
Which sequel? The
sequel to
Davinci Code.
Davinci Code.
But it's not Davinci Code 2.
No, it's not Davinci Code.
Yeah, because I know Davinci Code comes, and there was plenty of accusations thrown about at the time when it was written, the book, that it was a ripoff of Holy Blood, Holy Grail, which is a much earlier book. With some of this, basically, as they call it, I mean, the reason why they thought it was ripped off is because it's the same thoughts. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have that book if you'd like to read it. But
I didn't know. So apparently,
are we talking about Angels and Demons?
yeah, Angels and Demons came out in 2009, and then Inferno, which is a Davinci Code series. And then currently, The Lost Symbol is being played out on, I think it's Hulu.
That one's also associated with that series?
The Lost Symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lost Symbol is connected with Dan Brown. And let's see here. I've heard it being advertised.
Yeah, because I never saw Inferno.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
Nor have I.
I have not seen anything. I did read Angels and Demons, and I did see the movie, I think. Yes, I did. But I did not read Inferno or see a movie on it.
Yeah. It The Lost Symbol is based on a book released by Brown in 2009, and it is being shown on not Hulu, Peacock.
Ah.
And so, yeah.
Is The Lost Symbol a sequel?
So Tom Hanks, the Lost Symbol movie was canceled and it became a TV show. And Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol premiere review, as above, so below. Yeah, so... You know, and so, you know, the Fibonacci's talked about, the Fibonacci sequence is talked about in the Davinci Code series. You're talking about Bloodline of Christ. Mm-hmm. You're talking about, you know, and so, like, to your point, that the other author, I mean, like, did this guy rip this off? Anybody who's a serious studier of the Knights Templar knows that how Brown portrays the Knights Templar is not historically like how the historians say it really went down.
Right.
And then everybody who believes Brown in his just heroics, it's basically like Jason Bourne on steroids. Well, Tom Hanks is playing you know, and it's figuring stuff out and things like that. But
yeah, and I don't think Tom Hanks is a, you know, like that character in Davinci Code. I don't think he would survive very long with against Jason Bourne.
No. Yeah, Inferno was 2009. So anyway, bringing that up in regards to, you know, lifelong learning and, you know, how does it play a part? Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to separate the two English words, lifelong learner and being a student.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I mean, like, just for me, the etymology part, like, I see a difference in the two just based on, like, how I would define a student to be versus a learner. And I mean, because you think about, you know, education.
Yeah.
And you'd say that there's some people who don't have a lot of education, but still are smart people. Yeah. And so I think you're looking at people who are still learning, even if they weren't a student. Yeah. Because you usually aren't smart unless you become a learner. Yeah. Because I don't think it just comes out of nowhere. Right. Like, I don't know what I don't know. Right. So how do I get to know what I don't know? I've got to learn it. Yeah. Yeah, and I think what we're really asking is even for our audience to interact with us in regards to what is it that drives you to learn more? You know, what's the spark versus, hey, I've learned, I'm at full capacity. I don't have the ability to absorb anything else. I'm all done, filled up, and you know, I've for all of my life, I've asked questions, you know, driving the adults in my life crazy because I'd be asking questions, and it wasn't for the sake just to ask the question. It was to question the situation or what was being, you know, handed down or what was being set up as that this is what this is. I heard on NPR yesterday, there's this lady who wrote a book, and it was about her and her sister and then a girlfriend of hers, and they're actually Chicago-based. And two of the girls, difficulty happened to them, whether it was prison or death, but this lady became a reporter.
And, she said the difference between herself and her sibling and this other friend was that she considered the rules a ladder, and they considered the rules something to escape. And for her, it just clicked that the rules and the system were a structure for elevation. But where it turned in the lives of these other two women were that, they got, whether they got caught up in drugs, whether it was caught up in robbery and stealing, whatever. But it was, they were skipping school. They were, getting into trouble and things like that. And so, sometimes it's your outlook on authority or authoritarian views, that are you going to rebel against it, or are you going to work within the system? And so I find that interesting. I mean, I just question the system.
It's a fascinating look, though. Like, I mean, from the same family, but seeing it in two, we would say, completely different ways. One's like, I'm going to use the rules in order to advance, and that's the way to be able to kind of move forward in society even. Yeah. And the other one's like, no, these are too restrictive. This is too restrictive, and so I'm going to find a way to, either cancel it or get around it.
Avoid,
right.
To numb out from it, right. To not...
Or just, I guess, be completely rebellious and say, I'm going to do the opposite then.
Yeah. So then you got two white guys with beards sitting around a table, and we're talking about learning, and somebody who could be listening to this says, well, I have enough information to navigate life. What do I need to learn more about? Yeah. And then you have another culture that says, hey, what you have learned from what has gone on in the past, it's actually a smokescreen, because all of this has been kept, behind the curtain. You don't really know the truth. And then, we go to, is it A Few Good Men?
Yeah, classic scene.
You want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why I love autobiographical stuff. And there you turn learning into story. And that becomes how is every day for any person who's listening to this. I get, like, when you ask me, hey, are you a lifelong learner? And I'm like, maybe 50% of me. And maybe what I am is I'm just on an adventure and I'm out to discover, So then isn't that a different spin on learning? Is discovery?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I can learn it all.
Yeah. I just learned something the other day. Did you know that there were reparations out of slavery?
No.
So the reparations were not were not given to slaves. They were given to slave owners out of, when they stopped slavery, the government paid reparations to white slave owners.
Because they didn't have slaves any longer?
Because they no longer had slaves.
Yeah, they had to figure out how to...
Right. So they gave them money.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know you owned them, so now we're going to help you out because you don't own them anymore.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait a second. Like, what is happening here? Like, I didn't know that reparations were given in that manner. And yet some people would say, well, of course. I mean, if they paid, X amount of money for it, for a slave, especially a good slave, whatever, I don't know, what that means. But if they're paying a bunch of money, then some people might justify, well, of course you should then give them money in return because they paid it. Like, but we're talking about, like somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And we're saying you own them.
Yeah.
And you're saying that that's justified, that somebody should be paid back for it. But to me, it's like things like this that I learn now,
Yeah.
people have, I'm assuming, have known that in the past. Like, I just learned it.
Right.
Like, why why is there's stuff that continues to, I mean, there's stuff that has happened that I don't know about.
Right.
And, some people, well, why do we need to know it? So that we can, make ourselves feel bad. No, it's so that we know how to do better and be better.
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, like, that's a good part of learning too, is like, are we on this path, this journey in life just for the sake of ourselves, or is there something that we're supposed to learn about other people and how we can better treat each other and how we can better lift each other, encourage each other, that whole thing, like humanity should, I think, be like. And so I think that just gave me like a different a point of view that says, like, this doesn't have to be me taking a class on racial studies or anything to be able to find myself getting an A for it. But, like, to me, we should be learning these things that haven't been part of our learning throughout school.
Yeah, and I think that's where sometimes people in their process of, life or seasons of life, that's where, people are like, man, that's a lot of work. Or, like, why would I want to upset my current status quo when, if I'm learning this information, it becomes, like it's disturbing, or it, upsets my apple cart, or it, like, people want to feel good, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, if learning means that I'm going to feel bad, why would I want to learn? Or if I have to work at it and wrestle with it, why would I want to learn?
Yeah.
You got an answer for that?
Yeah, and it's probably going back to, I think, like, I don't know, even trying to say it in a positive way, like, why should we live in a self-made bubble for the sake of just, living in ignorance, then just to make myself feel better?
Well, okay. So with that question posed, people could come back and say, well, I've, like, of the energy that I have, I don't have the energy in me to ride on the waves of difficulty. I think that there's another side of this too, that people come and be like, dude, my life is filled with enough disruption. One more thing of disruption. For instance, current culture. We got the body of this dead woman,
Right?
And like, the thought in my head that goes through. I mean, big blow up story. There's a guy and a girl traveling in a transit van, and they're making their way across the United States. They're from Florida, right? Yeah, it has to be a Florida man story somewhere.
It does.
And so, so you got Florida man with Florida woman traveling across, and and so then, and there's disruption. Now there's a dead body. The guy's person of interest, but not, and I'm like, and there are people who are murdered and go missing every day, And just because these people were doing TikTok and Instagram, hashtag van life, then all of a sudden there's this one person. Amy and I watched this movie. I think it was, White River.
And you said that one's on Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah. Did I talk about this last time? Yeah, because we were talking about suffering, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Wind River. Wind River is the name of the movie, with Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen, and John Bernthal.
Yeah, look at that. Two Marvel people.
Yep, and
Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch.
and and that was the thing, is that at the end of the credits it says that of all the missing people, there is no tracking of missing First Nations women in the United States. And Amy had been thinking about it long enough. She came back and she's like, Steve, does that mean like the FBI don't track it? Does that mean the state police don't track it? I'm like, well, the FBI agent was the only person that had authority to be able to be on the reservation and have authority over the Indian police.
Because it was sovereign land.
Sovereign land, right? So, but does it start with it's sovereign land? So why aren't, this dude had like 6 officers to cover, just so many acres and all these people's lives and like the infrastructure of, all this stuff. And, and so my mind just goes, and where my head goes into, then how do we face the person and talk with the person about this whole thing on, there is so much that is so wrong. And as I learn about it, then there's so much that I can't even do. Then I'm paralyzed by all of this. And so how does learning help me? And why can't I have my comfy bubble? Obviously I'm just playing the opposite of, like as people who are listening in are saying, man, I face this.
So that would be kind of what I would view as, example, Cheesecake Factory, right?
Okay.
You walk into Cheesecake Factory, you sit down, they hand you the book that happens to be their menu.
The Book of Pleasure.
Right. And it has like every category of food that you can, think of. And it's all there at Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
So at what point in time do you figure out, how am I going to decide what to eat here?
Yeah.
Because there's too much.
Yeah.
There's so much to look at. There's so much, so many pictures, so many things. Like, and now you're looking at dessert then as well. And then you get 32 kinds of cheesecake. And you're like, there's so much.
Yeah.
How am I going to decide?
Yeah.
And then most of the time you don't. Like, hey, just, somebody tell me what I should eat.
Right.
Because I don't want to look at this anymore. So looking at our current day, we have a ton of information.
Right.
And I can see what you're talking about then is like, so how am I ever going to, like, eventually we're going to freeze. And we're going to say, I can't learn anymore. Like I'm, as they call it, paralyzed, right? Information overload.
Yeah.
So how do I continue to persist through this when I'm paralyzed by everything that's coming at me?
Yeah.
And is that where you're getting at?
That is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we overcome, the paralyzed, fear of more information consumption?
Well, and even what tools are beneficial tools to have that will allow for our listener to say, oh, you know what? I am living in my comfort bubble. And no one has ever planted the seed in my ear of that I shouldn't put myself on a shelf and figure that there's nothing that I could ever do. And, just the encouragement of what progress and steps forward, what could look like for them in regards to, being able to discern or being able to sift through, of these things, to be able to take next steps of, learning, like when you move from learning and having information, then to me, if just because something doesn't mean it's changed anything. And so then you have to move down the list from being a learner to taking a look within and saying how currently, if I'm here taking up oxygen, how can I be a change maker? And it doesn't. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands of people's lives. What we're talking about, because you and I have talked about. I'm a natural path guy. Let's look. How can we make a difference? In the people's lives whose path we cross, and then there's the question of our path. Is our path our bubble that we've insulated ourselves? And we need to get out of our comfort zone and get into a different area, Right. And so certainly this conversation isn't one to where we don't want to leave the listener like with this big weight on their shoulder and them kicking themselves, saying, "Well, yeah, I'm just a pile in my comfy bubble."
Right. Yeah, and that's the reason we're even having a question about lifelong learning is that we can say yes, but we also can figure out not how to not just be overloaded or live in paralysis.
Right.
And just say, I'm just going to stop learning. I'm going to just stay in my bubble. And it is, you got to know where your limit is. Or understanding living in community, and somebody says, I think you're reaching your limit here. So what can you do at that point? Obviously then you're going to say, I need to set limits.
Right.
So I'm not going to spend every second of every day consuming news or information. I've got to find a way to have a break, to make a break.
Yeah.
And to say, where is that? So again, sometimes this is going to be people. This is the reason why you go down these dark, the dark hole of digital consumption, is because you're like, wow, I didn't even know that I was sitting here on these message boards for the last 4.5 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, reading through comment. Facebook can become one of those.
Right.
Right. And you get sucked down this spiral. Set a limit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be on there every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be on there every week. Maybe it's, so you're going to be able to say, I've got to find a limit, because I think it's still important for us to learn.
Yeah.
Because that, and I believe that should be a goal for us, is like, I don't want to be the same that I am now 10 years later. There is some evolution that needs to occur in us. And so with that, then learning is going to be a part of it, because I can't go where I don't know without being able to move in that direction. I think community, people around us is a big vehicle for that too. But we also have to say, I have to be willing to do it, willing to make a move.
Yeah.
And so I think setting limits, I think making sure that there's a break somewhere, like don't just stay there. So I think that those are a couple of big things is, like when we're going through, learning, bringing new information in, and where to be able to make a break when I need it. So,
all right.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, and so then we start talking about people who find themselves isolated,
Right.
and or that creating a friend group or a group of community, having a group, it just would be, I don't know. I think that especially coming off of COVID, one of the things that people are struggling with is just what it means. What does it mean to be, how do you get to know new people, and or how do you so that where I would point people to is just take 5 minutes. It doesn't even have to be an hour of contemplation, but take 5 minutes and ask yourself, of the information you have taken in, what stirs something up in you, and you can go through, if we had to be able to flash the emoji faces, does something make you angry? Does something make you sad? Does something make you happy? There's one thing to stand for something. There's another thing to stand against something. There's pursuit of passion. Is there something within you that has longed to get out, or there's something that you can throw yourself behind? Actually, you and I both have a friend in common, and then there's another friend who their passion is what happens to children who go through the system in the United States, where if they don't have parents, there's foster care. But what happens to them when they age out?
Right.
We have another, and this is a button pusher, but I'm just still going to bring it out. I was talking to Nan over next door, who runs runs the free store here in Albany Park. And that's for refugees that are moving into the city. Now note what I'm saying when I say the word refugee. Here are people who have been displaced from their homeland, and why they're even being given permission to come into the States is because their life is in danger. Right. And when they come here, sometimes the families only have the clothes on their backs. For all y'all that wear your underwear once a day, or for one day, and you throw it on the floor, or you put it in the laundry basket, and then when you get a washer load supply of that set underwear, then you wash your underwear, and you got plenty of underwear there, and or hey, maybe you're a 2-for-1. You just turn them inside out and you wear them the next day over. I mean, I don't know what your daily practice is when it comes to underwear, but I mean, there have been people who have been waiting to get on a plane to be able to escape harm's way, and when they get here, all they have is the clothes on their back.
Right.
It was interesting. Nan's perspective threw me a little bit after I heard about the 500 people from Afghanistan that were going to be refugees coming to Chicago. And Nan said, yeah, and I just wonder, is that 500 people or is it 500 families? And why she was concerned wasn't about the number of what the people were. Yeah. She was concerned about the need and how that changes what she's getting ready for in the free store. If you're in Chicagoland area and you'd like to make donations, the free store is by appointment only to be able to give donations. Certainly not looking to come down to Sunnyside and all of a sudden there's a pile of everything what people dropped off. Right. Also with COVID, Nan is very careful and cautious. She lets any donations sit for about a week before she goes through and gets that ready into the store, so that if there is any COVID contamination, then it's not in and on the things, and stuff like that. And you know, you bring that point into, and here's a woman who probably at her age in her life could figure out anything else that she wanted to do, but when she saw a need, she was passionate about it, and she made the move, contacted you, and the free store was birthed. And that's been going for what, 5 years now or so, 4.5, 5 years.
Yeah.
And here's a person who donates her time, and her life. Maybe you take a look in your pantry, and you have plenty that's there. Well, what do we know right now? Going to the floor of the House. The moratorium on eviction notices. We still have people in the United States that, because of work or the lack thereof, or the return to, or the care for the children in their home, and the cost of daycare, they're looking at trying to get a bill passed so that landlords can't kick people out for not being able to pay their rent, and then you have landlords listening to this and being like, yeah, how the hell am I supposed to pay the interest, and this to the bank? I'm going to lose my place because I can't collect the rents. And, there's all this big circle. But I come back to food, local food banks, if maybe it's within your capacity that you'd be able to, when you go to the grocery store, pick up some canned food items and find out where your local food bank is and make donations there. Maybe of a family that's going through a rough step. But I come back to, based on isolation and based on insulation, I don't know that there are people who really have a general good knowledge of what the needs are, even within their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
I
would say that's a fair assumption.
and with that, so who's going to be the person knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, I'm just doing a poll here because I'd like to help out." Knock, 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 knock. Hey, do you guys have groceries? You're in a little different spot because with being a pastor of a church, there's a phone number to call, and if people who are in need have, at least in the past, people have picked up the phone and said, "Hey, do you have any connection to something, where to help and things like that, and these are just off the top of my head, but when you get into, how do you feel when you see someone who's not like you, and where's that capacity of what it means to learn, to love, and how does that love come out, and a little bit of research, and, again, it's an amazing thing. How can I help ... You fill in the blank and throw it into the Google search engine, and, that's an opportunity. And so,
but it's also, it then goes back to our comfortability level, right? Because we're saying, am I comfortable? And if that's your only goal, then you're not going to be concerned about
that's the call out.
Anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the call out, is to say, hey, what, man, I don't know. It just, there's so many different roads. That's why I brought up the part of paralyzation, is because, and I struggle with paralyzation when it comes to creativity, because it's so much in me that I could go in so many directions, then I could spend time not doing anything.
Yeah.
And, as even for the sake of, with pottery, there's so many different directions that I could go, but I have to just whittle it down to a small focus to be able to make progress. And then you just ask the questions, where do you take it from here, kind of thing. But yeah, Dorothy's house, and then Matt in Indiana, here's two leaders of community who are, taking the steps that they're creating homes that, so when kids age out of the foster care system, that there are places for them to be able to learn life skills. And, then people are like, well, isn't that what foster parents are for? I'm like, yeah, it is, but that's not what always occurs.
Right.
And, and Dorothy's house specializes with girls who have been trafficked. And then that brings us back around in the storyline of current culture. Here, some lady is found dead after there's an argument and all of this stuff, and the whole nation's up in arms. And the reality is that nobody's asked the question about how many women were shipped across the U.S. in the back of a semi-trailer to be able to make the next strip joint, because that's the demand, and that's what's going on.
Right. And so it goes back. So if you're feeling paralyzed, like, it goes back to the idiom, how do you eat an elephant, like one bite at a time. Like, you're going to do one thing instead of, I need to create a master plan of how I'm going to eat this out. No, you're just going to try it. Like, take a bite. Do one thing.
Yeah.
Do one thing. Do something that's not the same thing that you always do.
Right.
And I think that is it's a great way to be able to get out of paralyzation.
Yeah.
And to be able to say, yeah, so I don't want to just know what I know. I don't want to just do what I do. I need to figure out the next. And so what's the next? I don't know. So I don't know what I don't know. How am I going to get there?
Yeah. And
it's just take a step. What is it going to mean? Maybe it is a Google search you're going to start with. Just like you said, how can I help with ... fill in the blank. Right? So I'm not going to be able to tackle every single problem in the world. And we wouldn't want you to start there either.
Yeah.
Because that's too much.
Right.
You're not going to do it.
Yeah,
Start with one.
And it's not a call out for everybody who's listening to start a 503C-B-A-W-T-Z-R. I don't know.
501c3?
501c3, yeah. Some nonprofit. We're not saying, become the new CEO of a nonprofit agency that's newly on its inception. I mean, much like all of the podcasts that are out there. I mean, there's tons of podcasts. There's tons of information to listen to. It's, there's so much.
Millions.
So many words being spoken out into the interwebs through recorded means. But like what maybe the list is, as you sit to contemplate, what is my comfort zone? Answer that question first. What does my comfort zone look like? Does it start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and is it 2 cups of coffee? Is it a bowl of cereal, or is it 2 eggs and an English muffin? Document your current comfort zone. Is it punching the clock at work, going to work, doing the work, and then when you get done, you're jumping in the car? Is it picking up your kids from daycare to get home, and so then you have family rat race? It's like, all right, is this macaroni and cheese or is this grilled cheese tonight? What's going on? With that. Hold it, wait. Then there's this juggle because there's a soccer practice, and then there's this juggle because somebody's got volleyball or basketball. And then what? But in asking, what does it mean if this is my path, then what part of it is what I'm comfortable with? We were just watching on Netflix the other day this group of 3 millennials that is like adventures of like vacation homes and stuff. Yeah. And we watched the one on tree houses. And Seth Bolt from Bolt Farms, the bass player for Need to Breathe. Oh, yeah. Like the first time I ever saw treehouse things, it was like he and his dad built a treehouse for his wife to be for their honeymoon, and it's fantastic. It's so cool. But then there's vacations that help other people, And man, that was so moving that, to see how that there's different vacation destinations that as you go on vacation, you can be learning about how you help, we would call it in Christianese, we would call it a mission trip, and there's different things where by taking your time off that you can be able to, in that bracket of time, be able to help other people. But identify what your comfort is. Then ask yourself, is there something nagging within me that I wish that I could? Or when's the last movie that just kind of, maybe it didn't bring a tear to your eyes, but it made your chest a little tight, and you were like, man, or maybe it was a conversation, and and then move down that path. There are a lot of places in school systems where the big thing is making sure kids are even fed, because a lot of kids go hungry. A lot of times when food's sent home, it's the parents eating the food and the kids still go hungry, but maybe you could be a volunteer at the local school. It might be, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can find out a local soup kitchen, and it's not Thanksgiving.
Right.
Okay. Again, maybe it's contacting the soup kitchen and say, hey, what are your items that are staples? And I can't take every day this month to be able to drop off, 5 pounds of beans, cans of beans there or whatever. But you know what? One day. And then what does it mean for you to start building community where you ask someone else to join you in the effort? And you ask another person, and but I'm concerned, Phil, with isolation, that people motivated to get out of the isolation based on how we've been conditioned. I think it's a tough ask, really.
All right, and that is how do you even move somebody who's going to be in that place of already paralyzed or isolated? How do you move somebody you don't have that relationship where you can say, hey, shouldn't, being able to easily challenge and them receiving it. You have to have a relationship in order to do that. If somebody who's, I don't know, who's like, hey, let me challenge you, I'm not going to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to receive it. I'm going to be like, okay, in one ear, out the other. So how do you I don't even know how we would be able to do that other than let's start building relationships, everybody.
Well,
because that's going to be a way where we're going to know people and we're going to know where they're at in order to even figure out how to make some of these next steps.
Well, and I'm a firm believer that if you sit on the edge of your bed in the morning and you just whisper these words, hey, world, I'm going to be out there walking in the midst of all these people. Bring to me whoever you need me to be an encouragement to. I don't know that I have what it takes to be that encouragement, but I do know that if someone comes into my path that I can encourage, I'm willing to be an encouragement. Anytime I've done something like that, I'm meeting somebody new, and and I think that the listener, whoever's hearing this, if they actually get to this part of the recording,
yeah,
I think that for them to be with us in the conversation, to say, yeah, I'm stuck, but I don't know how to get out of it. And then what I would say is we're on a major theme in the last 3 episodes about transformation. Mm-hmm. And hopefully the stories of transformation and that it is possible is enough to be a catalyst, which again, go back 2 or 3 episodes and catch our not catechism, our catalytic moments,
I think we started out the season that way too. I was talking about catalyst moments.
Yeah, and and we were doing it historically. Look back in your life where you've seen these moments have defined me, to move into, and and things like that. But our just hey, you can move in a way that you haven't moved before. It's just taking one step. You talk about taking one bite. It's just taking one step. But oftentimes, it's about being willing. In my head, I have goals that are driving me, and it's the thing that I'm like setting my goals, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be moving, and I'm going to be doing this, and this is what, and stuff like that. And I was sharing before we started recording, I'm like, I have an interrupted week this week. And so in regards to that, it's hard for me to be able to get past the goal setting, goal achieving part in me. But what I've had to do is just be like, okay, take a breath, move into fluidity, become one with your moment, and know that whatever does happen, it'll be good. And you got to believe that part will be good. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly not sending me to just, go, check out, and just in my head write it off as a loss and be like, well, I'll wake up on Monday next week and everything, I'll be able to start that week, and then there's about a week there, and then it's more interruption. And, I committed to doing the Oktoberfest thing, and this morning as I'm driving in, I was working my hands because I haven't played guitar for, it's been a couple months now since I even picked up my guitar. Like, thinking about playing a gig for 3 hours and how my fingers are going to feel should motivate me to actually pick up my guitar and start playing it. Oh my gosh. But I got that Friday gig in Davenport, and then coming back, being here Saturday to get set up for Sunday and doing Oktoberfest here on Sunnyside Street. And and stuff, but in my head, it's like, you idiot, how did you get yourself into this? But the reality is that someone came on my path, asked me if I'd be willing. I asked another person who's a friend to say, hey, would you be willing to join me? Then I was like, well, hey, if this is in motion, we just might well make a weekend of it. And then, but I know that there's going to be good things that come out of me getting out of my natural, whether you call it a rut, whether you call it a grind, whether you call it your safety bubble, and things like that. And, that's just the reality. And you can too. That's what I'm saying. You can too. And, look for the interruption as the opportunity for what might be better planned than what you could ever plan.
I like your idea of goal setting. I feel like that's, always a good thing to start with. That you're trying to be able to say, and I think it goes back to...
Yeah, but I'm pissed off about it because I set goals and now I don't get to do it because I'm being interrupted.
Well, yeah,
But go ahead.
Planned interruption, right? Because what we know is that every plan's going to be interrupted.
Right.
But if we're keeping the ultimate goal in mind, and that's where I'd say, especially if you're starting off, I'm in a rut, I don't know how to get out, then the first goal is going to be get out of bed, make my bed,
take a shower.
These are all
brush your teeth,
things that you can write down and say, here, this is what it's going to take for me to just start.
Yeah.
Just start doing something that's going to be, all right, I'm paralyzed, I'm frozen, I can't get out of this anxiety, I can't get out of it. Well, then this is what we're going to do. We're going to set a goal. Even starting tomorrow, this is the goal.
Yeah.
Now, as you said, what happens when interruption comes? Well, we're going to say, I'm going to plan for interruption to occur. Not that the interruptions, it's going to take me off of my goal, but I'm still going to say, but how do I continue to try to do that even, if there is an interruption? Is there any way to get to this? Nope. Okay. I'm going to set it aside and I'll be back tomorrow.
Yep.
I mean, and that's ultimately when you have a goal, you're still going to keep it in front of you, even if there is an interruption. All right, maybe I can't get to that one yet. Maybe I need to set another goal before I get there then.
Yeah.
And I think that would be, I like that idea of starting with that, because then you're putting something in your mind that you want to see happen. I mean, that's what a goal is.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what I want to do. And so you're thinking about it, and then you're going to jot it down and you're going to say, this is what's it going to take for me to get there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, like we mentioned, the young reporter lady who became the writer,
yeah,
and wrote this book about these 3 women in Chicago. They come back to that. Mm-hmm. Goals are a different way to create a ladder for you to climb up on. And if you're there and you're like, yeah, but I'm afraid of heights, okay. Think of it like a staircase to be able to move from one room or one floor, one level of where you're at within your humanity, and be able to move to the next one, to the next floor. And so, goals can make that happen. Amy and I were just talking about, because I made the goal, hey, I'm gonna try to hit 40 hours of work in the Earthen Warehouse studio every week. Then I started taking a look at how many pots I was going to produce. And, I looked at pulling pots out. I got pots in the kiln today for a bisque fire. I think it's my 6th bisque fire. Maybe it's only the 5th, but like 4 glaze fires or 3 glaze fires. But, and I look at it, and I'm not going to lie. Sunday, when I pulled the pottery out and I looked, I was a little sad. I'm like, I've been working my butt off, and this is all that's here, and I had kind of set a lofty goal. I thought, well, maybe I'll hit 90 to 120 pots by the end of the month. Well, I started, as I was talking about, I was like, 100 to 120 or whatever. If I land by the end of the month that I've got, I don't know, 80 pots glazed and 90 pots total or something like that, I'm telling you, in my first 2 months of throwing pots, I only threw 30 pots. I think this month, since I set the goal, I'm looking at throwing between 50 and 75 pots this month, in a month. Mm-hmm. And so that's where, like, by setting the goal, and then that's what I did. Instead of writing off the whole day, I'm like, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'll just keep my 5 o'clock wake up time. Hoorah. And, I mean, I can get 5 hours in every day of the week this week by going 5 to 10 a.m. And then, when guests come in, it'll all work out. But then when I start thinking about it, what else do I have in the mix, And we go back to this consignment for Christmas with a Cause at Gloria Day. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm going to use my artistry to give back. And, hopefully that'll help Dorothy's House. Now, if any of our listeners would like to get on Dorothy's House and be able to donate to them, cash gift, I mean, I'm sure Dorothy's House would take some funding and financing. If... I think they can go to Tabor Church too, can't they? Can't they go to the website, and isn't there a donate button?
There is.
Yeah. I mean, so, and again, if you're like, hey, I don't know where or how to help. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I can do. But one thing that I do have is I've got an extra $10. Now, note, I didn't say an extra $1,000, and I didn't say an extra $50,000. Right. Although, if you have
You
that
do.
capacity, but why I bring it up is that, if 100 people gave $10, that's $1,000. And there are things that can be accomplished with that. I mean, again, we're going to have a block party October 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be out here, and we're going to be socially distancing, and there's going to be fun and stuff like that. But the bottom line is, it's to get to know the neighbors.
Right.
It's to have conversations. It's to show people that they're real people, And people are like, well, how, and me personally, I would be a fan of what is your natural path? Where are you located at? And the reality is there's got to be places where you can help others, and you can help others, and it doesn't matter how they got to the state that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is right now they're in a state where they need help.
Right.
And I've been in a state where I've needed help, and when people say, hey, how can I help you? I'm like, man, I don't even know.
Right.
And my response to them at the time was, hey, you know what? You take 10 minutes, you take an hour, you think about it, and whatever you feel led to do on my behalf to be able to help me, I'll totally trust that's what I need. And it always worked out.
It's good.
Yeah.
So I think it's then a challenge, right, for comfort zone, and to figure out what my zone is, where my comfortable parts are, and then what can I do to even step out into that fear zone.
Well, that's the thing, is you take a look at your current condition.
Yeah.
Then you take a look at what is moving within you, what's pulling you to it, or what is within you that's wanting to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Set your goals of the steps that you would take and break it down into a 30-day cycle. And then you get to start that new cycle over with taking it, and it doesn't have to be a whole day. You can take an hour, you can take a half hour, you can take 10 minutes. You know what? If you take 10 minutes every day for 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
that's 300 minutes. Right?
All right.
Okay, divide 300 by 60.
Yeah.
All right, we know four would be 240. So 300 divided by 60, it's 5 hours.
Oh, okay.
5 times 6 is 30. So that's 5 hours. What would you do? I'm telling you, this goes back to emptying the dishwasher. It only takes 10 minutes to empty the dishwasher. Why does the dishwasher have to have dishes in it? It doesn't. It only takes 10 minutes. But if you take 10 minutes a day for 30 days, you're going to have 300 minutes. It's the equivalent to 5 hours. And in that 5 hours of contemplation, you can be able to say, all right, what's my current condition? What's in me that's pulling at me? What pulls my heartstrings? What are my passions? What am I hearing that rises something in me?
Right.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set out a list and say, I want to track that down. Help me learn about this. Google,
Mm-hmm.
Help me learn about it, And so put it out there to Google about your county. Put it out there to Google about your neighborhood, your community. Call the Chamber of Commerce. Be like, hey, I've got this thing that I'm thinking about and I was wondering about. So what's the chance that you can point me in the right direction? Who's the shaker? Who's the mover? Who's the person that I can align with and say, you know what? And again, if it's not time and if it's not energy spent, maybe it's a financial donation, or maybe it's like, you got to get groceries sometime, even if you're doing like groceries delivered. What does it mean to go through and whether it's soups and whether it's, canned stock goods, just all of that stuff. And hey, we're going to be heading into the cold months. And so, these are all things. And the cool thing is those are surface level things.
Mm-hmm.
Do the things that, like find out what's in you and move in that direction. That's what the bid is. Hey, are you gonna be learning something new today?
Mm-hmm. And I think that there's always something every day that you can learn.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So what are you going to do with this? And that's the challenge, and it's always the challenge from us, but it's also a challenge to us that we do the same. And we're not going to challenge you to do something that we either haven't done or are not willing to do. So we're going to be on a journey. We'll be on a journey together towards what that looks like for learning and growing and evolving and transforming. So
yeah, and you know what I'm committing to?
yeah,
We've got 10 days left in this month. Okay?
yeah,
And so what I'm committing to is I'm committing to the 10-minute challenge. That gives me 100 minutes. It's about an hour and a half.
mm-hmm.
And hour and 40 minutes if you want to be exact.
Yeah,
Which seems like really weird math. If there's 10 days in 10 minutes, it's 100 minutes. But it's an hour and 40 minutes. That's because you only get 60 minutes in an hour. And everybody's like, now I get it. That's why it's not this round, beautiful. Yeah, so an hour and 40 minutes. I'm going to take that. And what I'm going to do with that 10-minute challenge is I'm going to sit and ask those questions of myself for the month of October. Now, I got a full October already planned.
right.
But I'm going to look at my current comfort bubble,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm going to consider how can I learn as a human that I could be a part of bettering humanity in my actions. And then I'm going to come out with the October goals. Now, you see what's happening is as this muscle's exercised,
Yeah.
I'm not giving up my other goals.
Mm-mm.
I'm just layering it.
Mm.
And this is where we'll get into talking about balance.
Right.
We're going to balance our chi,
Chi.
our yin, and our yang.
Yeah.
I'm usually full of yang. I lost my yin a few years ago.
Finding your yin. Yin, yin, yang.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of like the opposites, right? Or like the yin.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yang.
that's that.
That yeah.
Yep.
Like darkness and light, and
Yeah.
I mean, even though those aren't opposite, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's yeah. Yin and yang, meaning it's Chinese
Right.
definition. This is interesting. Yin yang, Eastern thought, two complementary forces that make up all aspects and phenomena of life. Yin is the symbol of earth, femaleness, darkness, passivity, and absorption. It is present in even numbers, in valleys and streams. There's the sacred female in the valleys and the streams, and represented by the tiger, the color orange, and a broken line. Yang is conceived of as heaven, maleness, light, activity, and penetration. It is represented in odd numbers in mountains and is represented by the dragon, the color azure, and an unbroken line. The two are both said to proceed from the great ultimate. Their interplay on one another, as one increases, the other decreases, becomes a description of the actual process of the universe and all that it is in it. In harmony, the two are depicted as the light and dark halves of a circle. The concept of yin-yang, and actually we say it, yin and yang, but it's actually yin-yang. Yeah, so we'll learn more about Zhu Yan and China and Yin Yo.
Something to look forward to.
Taoism.
Yeah, so this is episode 10, everybody. And so we'll plan on having a slight break, and then we're going to plan a live show that you definitely, after you listen to episode 9 and Steve's shadowy makeup.
I tell you what, I think in the last few weeks I'm getting out of my comfort zone a lot.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm working on a cooking show personality that's going to show up, so it ought to be good. And if it's not, at least the food will be tasty. Yeah.
So look forward to that, everybody.
All right. Well, we're calling it a day.
We are.
And for the shortness of the last episode, welcome to the 2-hour episode of Cut Daisies and Unicorns.
Right.
Hey, and as always, may you dwell in peace.
Right. Just like that. Peace.